Hello, my beauties. Welcome back to Glow Up with Shelly. Today, we're going to be talking about microneedling and the FDA. So there have been some major changes over the last decade, and these changes have just now started to impact the availability of these devices. I've been getting so many questions about purchasing the Dr. Pen, and I know many of you love this treatment as much as I do for amazing glowing skin rejuvenation, but we need to have a serious chat about these FDA regulations and what that means for those of us who really like microneedling and who want to continue to do it at home. So remember, this channel is all about glowing up, transformative skincare, flawless makeup, and a lifestyle to match. If that resonates with you, hit subscribe. Don't forget to ring the notification bell. I want you to know when I post future videos. And while you're liking and subscribing to my channel, if you are a fan of true crime, and I am a total fan of true crime, you really need to check out my daughter's new channel. She is Diamond True Crime, and she tells some very engaging stories, all based in fact. They're all true crime, and I just love the way she spins these. She does such a good job, and she's brand new, y'all. She only has 7 subscribers. Let's make it more. Let's make it 100. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in the description box. Check her out if you like true crime. As you know, I have been microneedling at home for a very long time. I probably started in 2014, 2015, right around there. I was 38 or 39 when I did my first at-home microneedling treatment. This was when it was brand new to the general public and YouTube was just kind of starting to talk about it. And I really amped this up, my routine up at about age 41, and I have been doing it fairly regularly since. I do take time off, so I've done like 6 months of microneedling and I take 6 months off. I've done 6 months more of microneedling, take 6 months off. I'm not 100% like, I don't do it every single month through the whole year. I think my skin needs some time to like rejuvenate anyway, and so I usually do about 6 to 8 treatments and then I stop for a little bit. But I've been doing this for a very long time. And I know many of you have fallen in love with it just like I did for the benefits that you see, the very real benefits you see from microneedling. So what's the big news? Well, it's not big news. I mean, this is not something that just happened overnight. It's not something that happened even recently. In 2020, the FDA classified microneedling devices themselves as Class 2 medical devices. So we need to break down what it means for those of us who are skincare enthusiasts and who are not physicians, right? Because this has a real impact on how available these devices are going to be and continue to be as the years roll on based on this 2020 decision. Let's start with a definition. Microneedling tools, by definition, are tools with tiny needles that can be rolled on the skin or stamped on the skin for various treatments. In 2020, there was a review of all of the literature concerning microneedling devices and FDA regulation, meaning FDA clearance of these devices. They're looking at clearing the devices for sale to the consumer, to your average consumer. These devices are now considered medical devices if they're meant to treat diseases. So that means now the FDA has a very loose term for treating diseases, and it's anything that changes or affects the body structure or function. Or if the needles pierce below that outer layer of skin, the epidermis. Any company claiming to treat scars, wrinkles, acne, hair loss, or stimulating collagen, anything that claims to treat that must fall under a medical device. The regulation, as a Class 2 medical device, they now require FDA clearance to be sold as a device. And manufacturers, in order to be able to sell these devices, have to submit what's known as a 510K application, proving their device is similar to an already approved device. And if we know anything about needling, the already approved devices are medical devices, like the skin pen, which is used by medical doctors and estheticians in med spas, and they are marketed as medical devices. So do you see where this is going with the FDA? I think you're able to follow this. I'm trying to make it super plain English, even though I had to Like, look at this ginormous document that the FDA released in 2020 that was like so confusing because the language they use is insane. Tried to break this down into plain English so that it would be easier for you to understand, because there's a couple of things that the FDA is saying with this. They're not necessarily saying that these devices can't be sold. They're just putting limits on how they can be sold and what claims can be made when they are sold. So let's get into this more. So they must follow, in order to have that 510K, like in order to pass that, they have to follow specific safety control features. That's really good for the consumer, essentially, because some of these devices are kind of, I mean, you could buy a poorly manufactured device and it could do damage to your skin. So that's part of the reasoning behind this, but I think there's a lot more to this, so we're gonna break it down more. So now I know many of you are wondering why it's suddenly so hard to find devices and needles, even though the guidance came out in 2020. So let's break that down before we talk about how this started in the first place. Whenever the FDA makes decisions like this, there's never like, it's not an overnight, right? It's a gradual implementation. So even though they issued this guidance back in 2020, it often takes time for regulations to be like fully enforced, and companies and retailers have really just been adjusting to this practice gradually. Also, anytime you have this, so this happened 4 years ago, this was 2020, you're gonna have regulatory bodies have just started to like amp up the enforcement of these guidelines put out by the FDA in 2020, which means that you're gonna have fewer non-compliant products that'll be available on the market. And if you've noticed, Amazon has really started to limit the availability of these devices. Now you can still buy some of these devices, but you really have to be careful. So let me continue. The FDA clearance process. So the FDA does have a clearance process for manufacturers who want to put these devices on the market. Now they have to submit a 510K to prove their device is similar to an already approved one. And this process can take quite a while and can also further impact temporary shortages on devices. So now what happens is, even if a device wants to be marketed, it has to go through this process, right? And that process can take time. And so you'll see devices being pulled off the market in order to go through this regulatory process. And there's a little bit of an issue, right? Because they're being mainly used for professional use. These devices are now typically intended only for healthcare providers. And in many cases, you may need a prescription or you may need to be a healthcare provider to actually purchase one. The licensing for purchasing these varies from state to state depending on whether you're an esthetician or a medical doctor, which is really interesting. So now on availability, these devices are typically, and before this, they were typically mainly meant for medical healthcare professionals, at least the ones that were FDA approved. Now, the ones who had not yet been FDA approved, those were the ones being marketed to consumers claiming to make the same kind of changes to the skin that these medical devices could. And that's where the FDA started saying, we can't do that. So in many cases, you're going to need to be a medical provider to even purchase a device. That's what the FDA says, essentially. Now, does that mean we can't purchase devices? No, you still are able to, in this nebulous thing called the internet, right? We still can find these devices, but it has gotten a lot harder for regular folks like you and me to buy devices. Now, I know this can be frustrating, but remember, these regulations are meant to protect us and they're meant to protect you as consumers. So our skin health is super important and we want to make sure we're using safe, effective treatments and safe, effective devices. Now, that being said, the reason the FDA pointed to this is supposed like risks of electrocution, risks of needles getting stuck into your skin, risks of damage to the dermis and the epidermis. I think microneedling has made a huge impact to my skin, but I can't say that it's the end all be all. So if you can't needle, that's okay. You can still increase your collagen. There are other ways to increase your collagen. And there are options to consider as part of your collagen replacement therapy that are way outside of the realm of microneedling. It is not the end all be all, and that you can still make major changes to your skin. There are some ways that you can work around this without buying a device. You can consider getting microneedling done at a dermatology office or at a med spa. You're going to be paying more, probably $300 per treatment. So it's a little bit pricier, but you get like all the serums, like the high quality med spa serums, and you get, you know, a licensed professional, essentially someone that you can come back to and say, you didn't do this properly and you need to pay to have this changed in my skin. So if they mess something up, they will be able to fix it. Whereas you, if you mess something up at home, you are going to have to pay to have that situation reversed. However, that being said, it's very cost prohibitive, meaning not everybody can afford a treatment that's $300 a pop, especially if you're getting 3 to 6 of them a year. You know, that's 3, 6, 9, that's $1,800 a year just in microneedling. Okay, so that's a lot. That doesn't include your daily skincare routine, anything else that you might get done. So that's a lot. There are derma rollers that are still available. These are going to be available. The FDA has cleared them as at-home devices, but only the ones that go up to 0.3 millimeters. So anything above 0.3 millimeters is really not allowed to be sold to the general public except as a medical device. I know, right? That's like insane because so many microneedling devices at 0.5 millimeters exist, right? Rollers, stampers, so many of these things. Even like the Cure came out with their stamper at 0.5 millimeters. That's not a medical device, and they're operating in a very gray area right now, and I'm pretty sure they probably know it. Same thing with Banish, right? They have a 0.5 millimeter stamper, same thing. They're operating at a very gray area. You can still do the 0.25 to 0.3 millimeters, and that's going to be great. And you know, I have so many videos that's cosmetic needling, and it really is super beneficial for the skin. And some doctors even say, hey, it's better than microneedling, you know, long term, because it makes huge changes to the skin. You can potentially do it every single day. You don't have to have any time off, and it does affect the collagen production by proxy, meaning it's not going to directly impact it. It's not collagen induction therapy, but it's going to, it increases keratinocyte production. Ugh, such a big word. It increases that keratinocyte production, and so that in essence ramps up collagen and elastin. So it eventually does the same thing that a medical needling technique does, but it takes more time, right? So you've got to do it, you know, more often. Chemical peels and chemical exfoliants will also help. Facial massage, a good solid skincare routine, all of these things are going to be extremely dramatic in increasing the collagen in your skin. That being said, though, if you really want a microneedle and you're like, I love this, I absolutely love this, and I'm still going, don't get me wrong, y'all, I'm still going to promote microneedling. I do think it can be safely done at home, and I don't necessarily agree with the FDA. That being said, there are places that you can purchase the Dr. Pen, though you need to make sure that you're actually purchasing the Dr. Pen. So every Dr. Pen comes with a authenticity label, and you can check the accuracy of like where your pen came from. And you have to understand that these pens are not like, they're all made in China. You can go to the Dr. Pen anti-counterfeit verification website and see if you have an original Dr. Pen, okay? Which is so, so important, and I'm gonna tell you why. These are not being sold on Amazon anymore. Do not even try to buy them on Amazon. Due to the new regulations, you will not be able to get them on Amazon. You can still get the official Dr. Pen stamper. And this is the DRS. This is also made by the same company that makes the Dr. Pen. Now, the Dr. Pen is made by Ikai Technologies. They are the ones that produce the DRS stamper, and they are the ones that also produce the Dr. Pen in its various forms, okay? These devices are sold by all kinds of manufacturers, not just Dr. Pen. There's no real official seller for these devices because they are all Chinese, and most of them, I mean, the Dr. Pen. There's no official seller of the Dr. Pen, okay? They are all sold by various companies because they are all put out by Ikai Technologies. And Ikai really did. So unfortunately, Ikai is the reason we are in this mess. Okay, Dr. Penn is the reason we are in this mess, y'all. Because what happened was in 2020, or I think it was 2016, Ekai Technologies tried to say, hey, look, we manufacture a pen just as good as the skin pen. We want to get this cleared for consumer consumption. Like they wanted to clear it to be able to sell it on a website, as Dr. Penn. They wanted to get that cleared. Well, in doing that, the FDA started a review of all of the literature dealing with microneedling, and that's when they classified the device as a class 2 medical device. So these Dr. Penn devices are great devices. The FDA said, heck yeah, you are cleared. This is as good as a skin pen. Problem is, they also reclassified them. I shouldn't say reclassified because they really were in a nebulous area. Like there was no marketed to the consumer medical like stamping device available. They were really not, they were in a kind of a nebula of FDA regulation. So FDA said, yeah, they're great, but guess what? They're also only for medical professionals, just like the skin pen. So that's when the FDA said, nope, these are only going to be medical devices. And y'all, I have a feeling it came from lobbying. I have a feeling the med spa companies do not want people like you or me to be able to use these devices. Okay. That's why I really think this happened. Make sure, so you can still order them. You can still order the Dr. Penn. You can still order the DRS. I do think some of them are being sold on Amazon. So if you aren't spending a couple $100s for these, you're probably getting a knockoff and you might want to be careful. I would definitely verify it. And again, that website, and I'll put it down in the description, is Dr. Penn Anti-Counterfeit Verification website. I actually went and ordered quite a few of these because I did find that there were a few of them that were on Amazon and on some various Dr. Penn sites. So I did go ahead and order some of them, and you can still order these devices and cartridges. Now, when you do order them, there is a disclaimer that comes up and it says they will check to see if you are a medical professional when you order these devices. Now, I was so freaked out by all of this, and I want to make sure that I can microneedle for like ever at home. So I ordered a ton more. I ordered 20 more of these, and I have probably 30 or 40 already that are not nano stampers, that are actual like 16 pen, 12 pens, and 24 pens. So I ordered 20 more, and then I ordered a few more of these. So I'm hoping to get a good 10 years out of this. I am like so freaked out, you all. It's making me so angry. I'm like, I can't even believe they did this. So I did stock up. I plan to buy even more over the next few months, just in case they become impossible to get, because it doesn't look like the FDA is liking this. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. How are you adjusting your skincare routine to these new regulations as it starts to get harder and harder to get these devices? And if you want, I'm telling you all, like, I absolutely love this device. I needled with this last month. It's like $20 at most. I think some of them are like 30. It goes all the way up to 0.3. I needled with a 1.75 on my entire face. I have to say that, and I stamped it, the recovery time was much quicker with this device. You can use this 10 times. You must sterilize it after with alcohol. I would soak it in alcohol overnight. That's what I do. It's not even a 30 minutes. Like, I soak it overnight, and I know that's overkill. These are stainless steel, so they should be fine overnight. Even titanium should be fine overnight. It's not going to break down the metal. So I don't think 0.5 are going to be hard to find. I think when you get above that, when you get into the adjustables and the pens, those are what's going to be hard to find. Now, you can still buy the Dr. Penn on the Dr. Penn's websites, and there are several websites that sell Dr. Penn. Again, there is no legitimate Dr. Penn website. I want to throw that out there because everybody keeps asking, where do you buy the legitimate Dr. Penn? I would say make sure it's a website that's been around for a while. So I trust the Dr. Penn USA, drpennus.co, or it's us.drpenn.co. One of those, the Dr. Penn Australia, those have all been around for a while. You're going to get a good pen on there. Oh, there's another Lux Lab. is amazing. They have great products. They sell Dr. Pen as well, and they sell Dr. Pen cartridges, and Lux Lab is awesome. They're expensive. They're very spendy. You can spend a lot of money here, but you're gonna get the science, and they actually have like sealed peptide serums that you can use for single microneedling uses. Again, they're uber expensive, but you're gonna get the real product, and you're gonna get the real Dr. Pen if you order from that site as well. Oh, Get Glowing Skincare, they have a lot of Dr. Pen stuff. And when I ordered the cartridges, right, even though the disclaimer said that they were gonna check my medical license, they did not check my medical license before shipping. So I'm assuming that they're not going to check my medical license. Still, I have never seen that disclaimer ever on any website, and it's starting to pop up all over the place. On every single pen or cartridge that I've been throwing into my cart, I am seeing this disclaimer that they're going to verify that I'm a medical professional. I want to let you know you can still find them. You can still purchase them. So far, so good. How long that is going to remain the case, I do not know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a comment in the comment box. Let me know, how are you adjusting to this? What are you doing to mitigate this? And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more beauty insider tips and updates, because y'all, I try to stay on top of this and it's freaking me out. We are in this glow up journey together. Stay beautiful inside and out, and I'll see you next time on Glow Up with Shelly.